Hello and welcome back to the channel, and we are speeding through this. So last night, if you were with us on stream, we were doing 13, which worked out pretty nicely for a short par 5. So today I'm going to have a little go at 14 and hopefully 15 in this. Now, before we get started, I did want to add a couple of little wrinkles to 13. I think a couple of bunkers would help with it being a par 5 and all. Probably needs to be a little more challenging on the drive, and it's one of our wider fairways as well, so I might end up shrinking that down. So I'm just going to put these down as placeholders, and then so let's get our timer going. Now I liked the idea of having one just nestled into this little ridge I built up. So that one's a definite of just like something there. And then this one's going to be more so people don't just hit a 3-wood to the corner with. I think with this hole, people are likely going to end up laying back with 3-wood so as not to risk the water, which is kind of the idea. And we want something just to make you think a little bit more. So if we move that point just there, here a touch, maybe a little bit of a bend around this bunker too. I think. Maybe a little snug around. Sort all of that out later. Straight away, I think that will look a little bit better. Yeah. Cool. On to 14. Now 14 is a bit of a drop shot par 3. So drop shot for me is just like downhill significant amount. We've also got this water which it's going to be benched into. Now with water we want to use that sparingly and like have that be the main fence really. So we're just going to have a green looking like this, and the water is going to dictate the green shape. And we're probably just going to have one bunker back here and leave the front of it open. And like that. Maybe could have one more. Could put this on an angle a little bit more as well. Is an option. So things I'm taking into consideration: front pin, this little elbow comes in a little bit more. Whereas if you play over here, then the whole thing in a little bit more. And that bunker, we move it to about here. And pop our green surface down. I'm hoping, so every time I do this, I aim for around 95 in terms of yards on this. So that's pretty good. That's not a hard and fast rule. It's just if I'm doing it about that size, I know that the green is broadly standard green by for me. So that's not to say you should do it always that size. It's just kind of my reference, if you will. But then anything significantly smaller than that, I'm kind of, yeah, I don't like that bunker at all. I think this needs to be one that is just doing. There we go. And then it's just going to be a very simple path. Fairway apron. Into it. And that'll be all she wrote. Doesn't need to do very much. And the green itself will be really simple. It's just going to be it's in a pretty spot. Got a water feature. And a large part of this course design as well is I kind of want to show. I talked a lot in the stadium course about simple done well. It's not. I don't tend to go in for simple all that often because it's less fun to design. But I do want to have couple of goes at that. Now, we may be a little bit too close to the water plane to make this work perfectly at the moment, but we can tidy that up later. There are tricks with 2 water planes that will help. I'm going to add some light rough there. Here. And do our usual of changing them so we're consistent. At some point I will get better at doing variable light rough, as in having more of it. Now what we can do with this green? Just general slopes seem the right things. Maybe it really doesn't need it. Probably tilted a bit that way, makes sense. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, I'm going to think on that one. I don't know the answer. We're then going to have a little bridge across just here. I don't normally like having them in the side, but there's nowhere else it's going to be. I guess you could play it and then walk back and hit. We probably have 2, to be honest. For now. Oh, I don't know. Something simple. What would be the simplest one? That's not going to be too obtrusive. These are decisions I really don't need to care this much about. Yeah, here we are. One big enough? For some reason they always start below the surface of the water. It's colder for the moment anyway, so yeah, it's quite obtrusive. I'll probably do something a bit more custom with them anyway. I don't tend to love. Okay, now that's really in the way. Yeah, so maybe we do want the one in front. Okay. Right, 15. 15 is going to be an interesting one because we've got trees overhanging here. We've got this big elbow of river, and we're going to have a fairway that really varies in size. So the first thing with any kind of potentially drivable par 4 is how we making it so that you can drive it, but that you're not always going to. I think with this one, small green makes sense. Small green banked into the river as well. I'm just kind of freehanding that one. If we had a bunker just on the inside. Now we're also going to have trees, so you would need to work it around that bunker. Well, and everything really. Let's say fairway is 24. Excuse me. You want to lay up close to the water to open up the green a little bit more. We want to be thinking about full wedge, which you could have from back here. And we want a small target. Probably squeeze it out just a little bit more. There. I think this might well end up being the smallest green on the course. Go outside because I think it's tiny even as is. Yeah. Now again, don't worry about the shape deforming. We can fix all of that later when we start doing some water plane work. But it's very hard to. So basically, what you do is you say take a second water plane and just sink it lower, and then everything comes back. Yeah, perfect for one. I do think this one's going to rely a lot on the green complex, so I'm going to spend some time working on that. I like the low. I've done this a couple of times on this course already, but this little low front pocket looks entertaining. Like taking it that way, because that kind of encourages you to drive at it anyway. We can have a higher front area, falls down there. Yeah, that may be kind of all it needs. It's funny how sometimes you just get quick ideas with things. Sometimes you can really struggle. Or then the bunkers just don't. I think there's some. I think it's more to do with direction on the plot. So like sometimes the shapes overlap better than others. To do with how the mesh works is that's my theory. I've got nothing to back that up with. Than just there are some points where it just doesn't feel like it works. Yep, we'll let that happen. Okay. Now we just want to make the so you could play 3 wood over the corner. If so, we just want kind of the fairway dictating that as a shot. I'm going to open way out here. I don't think I'm going to need too much. Just a fairway that curves around a hazard nicely. And it's really just, do you want to take on that drive or not? And how do you want to, and then we'll use the green to do. Okay, so we'll rough this surfacing in. This one feels like it's gone easier than I thought it would. A little there. One thing I do want to do, I'm used to using very kind of rigid's probably the wrong word, but similar fairways that are always similar widths. I want to try to vary that a little bit more with this one. Like sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 35, and like play around with that. So that there's clear areas where you can hit more easily than others. I find that I don't find that easy to do. I just don't see it as much more uniform. But we'll give it a go on this one because I think this course. Okay, and let's pop the box down before we forget to do that. And I forgot to do it on the previous hole. One there. One there. I think this is quite up. This is on quite a hill, so 2 cents. That's all white in the right position. That'll do nice. Okay, so I think that one might end up being quite a quick episode. Take the bridge. Let's go. Down lane. We can always do this one. Just giant compared to the rest. It was quite like this one. This one. And we can cover it over with like some. Yeah, that feels appropriate for the course. Understated. Okay, then we're going to end up doing. Now 16, the T may need to come back just a little. I think that was one of the things I needed to do. T comes back a little bit. and then it's still going to be a par 4, even though the game is consistently changing my par 4s to 5s. Other ones that change 7, yeah. And 500-yard par 4s, kind of the only way I can really think. Well, that you can actually get a ground game in, particularly when we're using relatively minimal. Now this one's got some cool land movements, so we're going to go up and down, up and over. Well done there. Now we're going to pause timer there. So 4 hours 23. So this one sets up really nicely, I think, for an interesting, probably bunkerless tee shot. I don't think I need much. And then maybe even approach. I can see myself sighting the green down the hill a little bit and just kind of having it blind over this hill, but then everything rolling down would be fun. Because they're not going to move a ton of land on this course. Just going to be you play what is there. Yeah, and then we've got 17, so I've got 2 more holes to do, and then that's all of the ideas roughed in, and then it will get on to just sculpting them and making everything work. So yeah, anyway, hope you enjoyed, and see you again soon.